Middle Charita of the Devi Mahatmyam. Meditation on Mahalakshmi. Om. I revere Mahalakshmi, who holds in her hands the prayer beads, axe, mace, arrow, thunderbolt, lotus, bow, water pot, staff, lance, sword, shield, conch, bell, wine cup, trident, noose, and the discus Sudarshana, whose complexion is radiant like coral, who is seated on a lotus, and who is the destroyer of Mahashashura. Chapter 2. The Slaughter of Mahashashura's Armies. Om Hrim. The seer said, long ago when Mahisha was chief of the Asuras, and Indra was chief of the gods, there was a war between their forces for a full 100 years. The valorous Asuras vanquished the army of the gods, and after all were conquered, Mahisha became the lord of heaven. Then, led by Brahma, the lord of beings, the defeated gods went to Vishnu and Shiva, and related in detail what had happened. The 30 gods told how Mahashashura had wrought their defeat. He has usurped the authority of Surya, Indra, Agni, Vayu, and Chandra, and of Yama, Varuna, and all the others. Cast out from heaven by the evil Mahisha, all the multitudes of gods wander over the earth as mere mortals. We have related all that this foe of the gods has done, and we seek refuge in you. Be pleased to devise a means for his destruction. When Vishnu and Shiva heard the entreaties of the gods, they knit their brows in fury and contorted their faces, whereupon a great radiance came forth from Vishnu's rage-filled countenance, and so too from Brahma's and Shiva's, and from Indra's body, and from the bodies of all the other gods. A very great light issued, and it united and became one. The gods saw before them a peak of light like a mountain, blazing brightly and pervading the sky in every direction with its flames. Unequaled light, born from the bodies of all the gods, coalesced into a female form and pervaded the 3 worlds with its splendor. From Shiva's light came that which formed the Devi's face. Yama's radiance formed her hair, and Vishnu's effulgence became her arms. The moon god's soft light formed her breasts, and Indra's brilliance became her waist. Varuna's light became her legs, and earth's splendor formed her hips. Her feet took shape from Brahma's light, and her toes from Surya's brilliance. From the Vasu's light came her fingers formed, and from Kubera's light her nose. From Prajapati's luster came her teeth, and from Agni's radiance her 3 eyes were born. Dawn and dusk became her eyebrows. The wind god's splendor shaped her ears, and all else born of the other gods' light shone too as the auspicious Devi. Then beholding her who appeared from out of their amassed light, all those gods tormented by Mahisha rejoiced. Then the gods bestowed on her their weapons and adornments. From his trident Shiva drew forth another and gave it to her, and Vishnu bestowed a discus spun out from his own. Varuna gave her a conch, and Agni, the eater of oblations, gave her a spear. Vayu, the wind god, presented a bow and 2 quivers filled with arrows, extracting a thunderbolt from his own. Indra, the lord of the immortals, the all-seen one, gave it to her along with a bell. From his elephant Aidavata. From his staff of death Yama produced another staff, and Varuna, the lord of waters, gave a noose. Brahma, the lord of beings, gave prayer beads and an ascetic's water pot. Surya, the bringer of day, bestowed his rays of sunlight on all the pores of her skin. And Kala, the lord of time, presented a sword and shining shield. The ocean of milk bestowed a necklace of flawless pearls, ever-new garments, a celestial crest jewel, earrings, and bracelets, a radiant crescent-shaped ornament, armlets for all her arms, a pair of shining anklets, a necklace beyond compare, and bejeweled rings for all her fingers. Vishvakarman gave her a gleaming axe, weapons of all kinds, and impenetrable armor. Garlands of unfading lotuses for her head and breasts the ocean gave to her, and yet another magnificent lotus to grace her hand. Himalaya, the lord of mountains, gave her a lion to ride upon and jewels of many kinds, and Kubera, the lord of wealth, presented a drinking vessel ever brimming with wine. Sesha, the lord of serpents, who supports the earth, gave her a garland of snakes adorned with precious gems. Honored also by the other gods with adornments and weapons, the Devi laughed thunderously and defiantly again and again. She filled the entire sky with her terrible roar, and from the immeasurable din a great echo resounded. All the world shook, and the oceans turned, the earth quaked, and the mountains heaved. In joy the gods exclaimed, "Victory to the lion-mounted Devi!" And with bodies bowed in devotion the sages praised her. When the enemies of the gods saw the three worlds in upheaval, they readied all their forces for battle and rose up as one with weapons held high. "Aha, what is this?" Mahashashura bellowed in wrath. Surrounded by countless Asuras, he rushed toward the sound, and then beheld the Devi, who pervaded the three worlds with her radiance, bending the earth under her tread, scraping the sky with her diadem, shaking all the nether regions with the resonance of her bowstring, and standing there penetrating every direction with her 1,000 arms. Thereupon the battle began between the Devi and the enemies of the gods. Swords and missiles hurled in every direction lit up the quarters of the sky. The Mahashashura's general, the great Ashura named Chikshura, battled there, and Kamara led cavalry, charioteers, elephant drivers, and foot soldiers. The great Ashura, called Udagra, commanded 60,000 chariots. Mahahanu gave battle with his 10 million, and the mighty Asiloman fought with forces 50 million strong. With 60 million, Baskala fought in that conflict. Encircled by streaming multitudes of elephants and horses, Parivarita fought in that battle with 10 million chariots. And he who was called Bidala, with 5 billion chariots surrounding him, engaged in combat there. Amid chariots, elephants, and horses, myriads of other great Asuras battled with the Devi. There were countless chariots, elephants, and horses surrounding Mahashashura there in the fray. With lances and javelins, spears and clubs, swords and axes, and sharp-edged spears, they fought with the Devi. Some hurled spears, while others threw nooses intent on killing her. They began an assault with their swords. But she, the Devi Chandika, showered down all manner of weapons and cut through their armaments as if in play. Praised by gods and seers, she remained serene, even while unleashing her weapons at the Ashura's bodies. Her lion mount, shaking its mane in fury, stalked among the demon throngs as fire rages through a forest. The sighs that Ambika heaved while fighting became at once her legions by the hundreds and thousands. They fought with axes, javelins, swords, and sharp-edged spears, and drawing strength from her power they destroyed the demon hordes. Some of her throngs beat war drums resoundingly, some blew conches, and others drummed upon tabors in their zest for battle. Then the Devi, with her trident club and volleys of spears, with her swords and other weapons, slew great Asuras by the hundreds, and brought down still more with the confounding din of her bell. Binding other Asuras with her noose, she dragged them along the ground. Her sword strokes slashed others in two, while crushing blows from her mace brought still more down. And those bludgeoned by her club vomited forth blood. Others fell to the ground, pierced through the chest by her trident. Her steady stream of arrows made some on the battlefield resemble bristling porcupines, and those tormentors of the gods breathed their last. Some had their arms severed, others their necks broken, the heads of others rolled, and still others had their bodies ripped apart. Great Asuras, their legs cut from under them, toppled to the ground. Some severed lengthwise by the Devi, were left one-armed, one-eyed, one-legged, while others there in the battle danced to the throbbing drums. Those that she decapitated fell and rose again, headless bodies still grasping swords, spears, and lances in hands. "Stop! Stop!" other great Asuras cried out to the Devi. Where that great battle raged, the earth was impassable, with fallen chariots, elephants, horses, and corpses. Torrents of blood like mighty rivers gushed from elephants, Asuras, and horses there in the midst of the demon army. In an instant, Ambika led that vast legion of foes to its destruction as quickly as fire consumes a heap of straw and wood. and her lion, roaring thunderously and shaking its mane, prowled about in search of life breath still issuing from the enemy's bodies. So did the Devi's hosts wage war against the Asuras. So also did the gods in heaven shower down flowers in praise. Chapter 3. The Slain of Mahashashura. The seer said, Now when he saw that army being slaughtered, Chikshuta, the great Ashura general, went forth in fury to battle with Ambika. He rained showers of arrows on the Devi in combat, just as the rain cloud showers the summit of Mount Meru. But easily shattering his volley, the Devi killed his steeds and charioteer with her arrows. Like lightning, she slashed through his bow and high-flying banner. Having destroyed his bow, she wounded him in the limbs with her swift arrows. With bow broken, chariot wrecked, and horses and charioteer slain, the Ashura, armed with sword and shield, rushed at the Devi. First striking her lion on the head with his sharp-edged sword, he violently struck the Devi's left arm. O king, as soon as the sword touched her, it shattered. Then the great Ashura, his eyes red with rage, seized his blazing lance and flung it at Bhadrakali, as though he were hurling the very sun from the sky. Seeing it approach, the Devi released her lance and shattered the great Ashura and his weapon into 100 pieces. When Mahisha's mighty general lay slain, Kamada, the afflictor of the gods, advanced mounted on an elephant. He dispatched his spear toward the Devi. Quickly Ambika's contemptuous outcry sent it hurtling powerless to the ground. Seeing it fallen and shattered, the enraged flung a lance, too she destroyed with her arrows. Her lion then leapt up and astride the elephant's forehead, engaged fiercely in direct combat with the enemy of the gods. Struggling, the two fell from the elephant to the ground, still locked in dreadful combat. In a flash, the lion sprang skyward, then alighted and severed Kamada's head with a single blow of its paw. In the fighting, the Devi assailed the Ashura Udagra with rocks and trees, and biting, punching, and slapping Kadala, she felled him too. Enraged, the Devi crushed Udatta to a pulp with the blows of her mace. She killed Baskala with her javelin, and Tamara and Andaka with her arrows. And with her trident, the supreme three-eyed goddess slew Ugrasya, Ugravirya, and also Mahahanu. With her sword, she struck Bidala's head from his body, and with her arrows she dispatched both Dudara and Durmuka to the abode of death. While his army thus met destruction, Mahashashura terrified the Devi's host with his own buffalo form, jostling some about with his snout and pawing others with his hooves. Others he lashed with his tail and lacerated with his horns. He toppled some of them to the ground with the unleashed force of his bellowing and wheeling about, and the blast of his breath brought still others down. After destroying the great goddess's forces, Mahashashura rushed forward to slay her lion. At that, Ambika became enraged. But Mahashashura, great in valor, struck the earth angrily with his hooves, flung mountains skyward with his horns, and bellowed frightfully. Under his frenzied wheeling, the trampled earth broke apart. Lashed by his tail, the ocean overflowed all around. Thrashed by his horns, the clouds fragmented and dispersed. Tossed about by his blasting breath, mountains by the hundreds fell from the sky. When she saw the great Ashura approaching, inflated with rage, Chandika aroused her wrath and prepared to slay him. She threw her noose over him and bound him. Fettered thus in the fierce battle, the great Ashura left his buffalo form and assumed the shape of a lion. No sooner had Ambika severed his head than he appeared as a man with sword in hand. Instantly, with her arrows, the Devi cut him to shreds along with his sword and shield. Then he took the form of a great elephant and dragged her mighty lion along with his trunk. But while he trumpeted loudly, the Devi chopped off his trunk with her sword. Once more the great Ashura assumed his buffalo form and caused the three worlds, with all that is moving and unmoving, to tremble. Angered, Chandika, the mother of the worlds, drank a divine potion, and with eyes reddened she laughed again and again. The Ashura bellowed in return, intoxicated with his own might and valor, and with his horns he hurled mountains at Chandika. Her volley of arrows reduced them to dust. Her face flushed with inebriation from the divine drink, and she addressed him excitedly. The Devi said, "Bellow, you fool! Bellow for now while I drink this potion. After I have slain you, The gods will cheer in this very place." The seer said, having declared that, she leapt upon the great Ashura, pinned his neck down with her foot, and pierced him through with her spear. Trapped there under the Devi's foot and crushed by her might, he emerged halfway in his true form from his buffalo mouth. Half revealed and fighting still, the great Ashura fell to the Devi, beheaded by her great sword. Then, crying out in alarm, the whole demon army perished, and all the divine hosts exalted. Together with the great heavenly seers, the gods praised the Devi, the celestial musicians sang, and throngs of cloud nymphs danced.